Cuckoo. We're Isabel and Kim, girlfriends living in France and chatting about everything going on in our lives. Come hang out with us while we cheers with an Aperol Spritz, swap stories, and get into some deep talks and share what we've learned along the way. Follow us on IG at cuckoo.pod. Kim, it's been a while.
I know. We just are getting back from our 3-week break, which is very long in France, but
normally we don't have this. There
this
was like some May holidays. It was kind of an exception, but it's been, I feel like, over a month since we've recorded.
Yes.
we haven't been on behind the mic in a while.
I know we were like relearning our setup.
But the good news is we finally have released our first episode. So it's been so cool to see some of you guys' comments and responses. And yeah, we're so excited.
Yes. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a catch up because it's been a while. So Isabel, over the break, I went to Portugal and Spain, and we realized that traveling with kids and moving around to about 6 different cities was a bit much,
tiring.
But also, yes, but also super cool. We loved Portugal. We have some friends that moved from the US to Lisbon. So it was like actually really fun. It was my son's best friend that moved also from California. So we got to catch up with them. And yeah, I would highly, highly recommend Portugal.
Portugal is so kid-friendly.
So kid-friendly, so beautiful.
Kids.
I was shocked.
The food is great.
The food was amazing. And I was shocked by the amount of English. Like I felt like I could get around really easily there. And it was actually just a really amazing trip.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There was one funny part actually too.
Oh, tell me.
Okay. So I studied abroad in Seville, Spain.
Okay.
And my husband had never been, and obviously not my kids. And this has been a long time now since university. So I thought, how amazing. Like I remember it being just the most beautiful place in the world and so amazing. And I was like, I can't wait to bring my family back. And I wanted to see, like, I lived with a Spanish family. So I actually wanted to go and like see where I lived and see if they were still there. And so we drive in and we happened to be staying in the not so great part of town because we were in an Airbnb, and it was not what I remembered. I think it's interesting. Like we have things in our head from when I was 20, and remembering that was my first time in Europe. And I thought like, oh my gosh, this is like the most special place on earth. And it still is like very, very beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But it was just so different from how I remembered it.
Interesting.
And so it was just an interesting thing to be like, did I change a lot? Did the city change? Like,
I bet the city changed a lot. A lot can happen in 20 years.
For sure. Yeah. I think the city was different. And even like I saw the apartment building where I lived, and we lived above this Chinese restaurant, and like the restaurant was still there. So I took a picture for like all my study abroad friends and sent it to them. And it was just kind of a cool, like memory. But yeah, it's just interesting that I thought it was going to be this like, oh my gosh, we have to go. This is the best place ever. And it was not quite what I remember.
Didn't live up to what you remembered.
But that's okay, because that's life, and things change. So
totally.
Yeah. Tell us about your break.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember. It was so long. The first week my mom came.
Oh, that's right.
Which was really fun. So she came for a week, and then we had a little girls part of the trip because my husband went to London for a few days to see a football game for his team. So we had like 3 days, just us girls, and then we went and met him in Paris.
Fun.
My mom left from Paris, and then we stayed in Paris for a couple days to take care of our apartment, and we just had to water the plants, all that stuff. And then we left my daughter at her grandmother's house, and we came back a few days all by ourselves. And it was so fun because we realized we've never been by ourselves at this new house.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
And honestly, we like slept a lot and worked a lot, but it was just
refreshing.
It was just nice. It was a nice little break to have within the break.
Yes, for sure. That's awesome.
And then what happened? And then my daughter came down with my husband's mom, and then we had the last week. Honestly, by the last week, I was like so used to just all being together all the time. Yeah. I was like, okay, so should we homeschool? Like I almost didn't want her to go back to school because like the thing that gets challenging with these really long breaks is we both work for ourselves, and you can't just stop working for 3 weeks. And so you do sort of figure out how to get through the day. We're like, one of us will work, one of us will do this, or she'll play by herself, or TV, whatever. And I don't know, we kind of like had a little bit of a routine by the end of it. And I was just like, it was a little sad when she went back to school.
Oh, okay. I had like a completely different feeling.
Right.
I feel
But
like
I mean,
I
at the
saw
same
you
time,
and
I was like,
I go, aren't you counting down till Monday? And you were
I
like,
was until
"What?
that
No, I'm
last
fine."
week, like the Thursday of that week, I was like, oh my gosh, we only have 4 days left. But we had a nice, it was just nice.
That's great. Relaxing.
But then now I really feel like the pressure, since school started, I feel like pressure is on because it's like the, 6 week countdown to
until
summer.
then.
And then we have 2 full months.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a little stressed about that. But we'll figure it out.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So now me and my husband are both just working like as much as we
I know.
possibly can so that
I
we can
feel
kind
you.
of like chill out a little bit.
Yes.
in the
And
summer.
travel a little in the summer.
Yes,
And
exactly.
Yes. Amazing.
Okay, so Kim has one story that she needs to tell because she told me this story and I was just dying laughing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is only something that could happen when you move to a new country.
Yes.
So tell us what happened with your hair,
Okay. So
which looks great, by the way.
Well, thank you. Okay, you can kind of, I'll tell the story. So it's officially rosé season. Cheers. And I was like, I really want some blonde highlights, like just maybe like a fresh cut.
It's like light and flirty
Just
for
like,
summer.
Yeah, just trying to get like my summer look. And so I've been to this, first of all, I had a hard time finding a hairdresser in France because I was worried, like obviously I don't speak French super fluently. I was like very particular on the color I wanted. But I've been to this hairdresser. This is now my 3rd time going since I've moved. And I really like them. They're about 1/3 of the cost of California and do, I think, a pretty amazing job on color. But it was funny this last time. So I usually bring a picture because I don't know how to say all of the
I've never thought to do that.
different
That's a great
variations of blonde that I like. Like I don't want it to be like an orange blonde. I don't want it to be too golden. I don't like a dirty blonde. I'm very particular on the color. So so the color, the picture, great. So we get to the end and she's like washing my hair and she says something in French and kind of pulls up a little bit of my hair. And I think she says like a little layer. And so I say, oh, un petit peu, which means like a little bit. And all of a sudden I literally look up in the mirror and she has cut like a huge bang, like the complete side of my forehead. And she could see my face. I think my eyes were like, oh, what is this? And then of course she has to cut the other side because now and then she kind of started putting them in front of my face. And I was like, no.
When you showed me, you put them in front of the face because I think they do work in front of the face.
Well, they can. They're like a long, thick bang.
It's
for
like
those of
a
you
curtain
listening
bang.
that can't see.
It's a curtain
So
bang.
then Isabel tells me
you're on
there's like
TikTok,
a cool
it's a curtain
trend
bang,
on
and
TikTok
it's what all the cool
called
girls
a curtain
have.
bang. And I do remember like the hairdresser goes, très chic, c'est très chic, like very chic. And so I was like, okay, but I walk out and I'm like, Isabel, I got bangs and I didn't. And who would get bangs right before the summer? Like it's so hot here. I now can't
And
tie
I feel
my
like
hair
it's something
back.
you think about for a while, like deciding to get bangs because you have to grow them out.
Sure. And it's like a big commitment. And now I can't, like, if I work out, I have to like, do something with these. So anyways, only in France, I would suggest if you get your hair done in France to learn
Google
the word
Translate.
either Google Translate or make sure you know the word for layers versus bangs because apparently that's confusing. So,
oh my gosh.
So thank you for making me share that story. But hopefully if any of you out there can relate, please let us know.
Okay, before we dive into our little topic of the day, I was wondering, I really like giving advice. So we're wondering if we should do a little advice column at the end of each episode where like someone can put a question in and like a situation in their life and we can give our best advice. So let us know if you're interested in that. If you're not, no worries.
For sure. Yes. And we'll do our best. I'm not sure, we can offer like the perfect advice for every situation, but we think it would be kind of fun. So today we're kind of trying a different format. We're on episode 6, which we're excited about. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. So what we got from a lot of you, thank you so much, was a lot of great questions, like what you wanted to hear about and questions for us. And so we thought we would kind of dive into a few topics.
Like a little Q&A episode. And then we'll get back to a real topic next week.
And both of us will kind of answer some of the questions. So hope you guys find it interesting.
Okay, let's go. All right. The first question is, how did you learn French? Do you want to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Okay. Because
how are you learning French?
I was going to say, I don't think this is a learned French situation for me. Okay. So my husband and I decided we were going to move to France, and we were both still in the United States working full time. And we said we knew like both of us did not feel comfortable moving to a new country without having zero foundation of the language. So at night, 2 times a week from 8 p.m. till 9:30 or 10 p.m., we would take online courses through like a global international program. We actually did Zoom private lessons with an instructor in Lyon, France. So he was up at like 4 a.m. and it was our super late night. So we ended up like basically going through, like, it would be what's equivalent of like an A1, like a level 1 course where we learned the basics, and we'd have homework in between the sessions. My thought on that was it definitely helped because we got here and at least knew some of the basics, but we were so busy, and so like there would be times I'm like doing my homework like 5 minutes before I would have the class.
You didn't have the time to commit to
there
it
just wasn't,
fully.
I wasn't committed, and nobody spoke French around me. So it wasn't like I was immersed. So I would say like it was helpful to at least get some foundation of like language, the words, like how to pronounce things. But then we've really, since we've gotten here, have decided to kind of take almost like more of an immersive approach. And we have been going, now it's like 3 days a week to Alliance Française, which is like the big program here that a lot of people learn. And they have both like in-person classes and online. And so that has been really helpful. It's pretty structured. Okay. I think we're now at the point where we need more conversation because we're learning like a lot of grammar, which is
classical French.
Yes, very classic French. And we're even realizing like certain things we're learning are not how people speak.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of trying to learn like colloquial French. And so I'm doing like once a week French conversation. And then we've been experimenting with trying to watch TV at night in French, but without subtitles, like no English subtitles, no French subtitles. So we've watched a few shows, like a couple you recommended. And then last night we watched Friends dubbed over in French, which was actually hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
So that's, I would say the biggest way that it's been helpful to learn is actually just been going out and trying and doing things and like making mistakes and talking to someone like at, a patisserie or at a restaurant and just kind of,
because you always get kind of like a takeaway learning from that stuff.
It's
so much easier to remember something when you have the context to base it on. I think that's what's really hard about, because people ask me this question a lot, like, do I need to know French before I move to France? And I think it can be really hard to learn a language when you don't have any other like interactions within the language. And so I always say like, no, like you don't need to learn the language before you come, but you should learn when you get here. Because, you kind of need to. But so for me,
what about for you?
I mean, I took French in 8th grade. You could like choose either French or Spanish. Okay. And if you chose French, you got to go on this like trip to Quebec, like overnight weekend, boys and girls. Fancy. So I was like, I'm doing French.
Of course.
That was my sole reason for doing French. So I did technically do French in middle school and in high school, but I don't think I was so bad. I had a D in French in 8th grade. Like I was not a French student. Okay. So I think it's fair to say I arrived with like 0. I could do conjugate être and that's about it. So that was a little challenging, but when I first got there that fall, I signed up for this class that's at, oh my gosh, what's it called? It's not the Sorbonne, but it's like the course. I'll look it up. I'll put it in the episode notes, but it's basically this course at like the fake Sorbonne. I don't know if it's the fake Sorbonne, but it's the Sorbonne language school. Okay. And I did like a Monday to Friday class, and it was like 10 to 12 every day for 2 hours, grammar in a classroom. But then there was every other week you went for an additional hour just to the language lab. And this is the part that was like the life-changing thing for me. And you would sit there and do all the sounds with your mouth. Like before you would go into the language lab, the teacher would do like what vowel you were learning. Right. She would have like the picture of the mouth, the way it's supposed to be, like where your tongue is under your mouth. And then you would go to the language lab and you would just hear that sound, and she would come on the microphone and you'd have to say it over and over and over again until you were getting it right.
This is so amazing. This is what I need.
And this is really how I began to, because when you listen to French, in English, like words have a finish.
Yes.
Like there's a clear start and finish. So you can tell like what a word is. Yes. Whereas in French, it all kind of strings together because you don't usually pronounce that last letter of the word. And so if you don't know any French, it's very hard to figure out where you are in a train of thought when someone's speaking to you. And this was so helpful because I was able to actually understand what sounds were. So then I could place like, okay, that word ended. It just like, it unlocked something in my head. And after that, I never did another like in-person class personally. I've never been like a great student in that sense, but that like really helped me. And then my husband was always adamant because he had lived in Spain for 6 years and had to learn Spanish.
Yes.
And he was like, look, the only way like you're ever going to learn is if you're doing something that you love and you put French into it. And so he was like, you like to cook, you like reality TV. And I was like, yes and yes. And so I went on Instagram and I followed a bunch of like kind of like foodie French people.
Smart.
I was like doing French recipes at night, just like learning those words. And then where I think I really started to improve a bit more was watching French reality TV.
Yes.
Without the subtitles. Yeah. And I started watching this show. It's called like Les Princes et Princesses d'Amour. It was like basically like a dating show. And the first season, I like didn't understand anything. The second season, like I started to understand more. And I think that really helped. But the downside of learning French this way and not at Alliance Française is I talk like a French reality TV star.
She does not.
Yeah. So I don't have a very polished level of French, but I understand most things. And Kim goes to a tutor.
Yes.
Just for speaking once a week. And I think that I want to start doing that just to kind of like, because it's been a really long time since I've done any kind of practice in French and I just want to keep pushing level. And I feel like I have a good level where I can
definitely do
get by with, but I'm kind of doing myself a disservice because I think I'm pretty close to being able to get to like another level and I just want to get there.
Yeah,
like I've been here almost 6 years. Not? I just want to feel like fully comfortable all the time.
Totally. I get it. I think that's super smart.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. Oh, this is for you, Kim.
Oh, no.
How did Kim and her husband get visas, jobs, and sponsorship to live in France?
Okay. So this was a very difficult decision, as I mentioned. I'll give you the rundown. So my husband was in a pretty intense job. Like I'm talking like 80 plus hours a week, traveling a lot. We had 2 young children. I was also working full time. My husband kind of came to me and was like, I really don't enjoy what I'm doing. I really miss like seeing you and the kids. And I have always wanted like, and we had talked about this since we first got married, like we wanted to live abroad someday. And we were hoping that someday we could figure out like a company that we would work with that would sponsor us to like live somewhere else. And that maybe could have been an option, but we realized that was a bit down the road for the companies that we were working for because and by that point our kids would have been like in middle school or high school. And just for us, that would have been a harder time to move. So we took a pretty big risk, I would say. And my husband's like, I really would like to quit my job and I will figure out something else and we will make the money work. And I said, okay. And I will kind of do the same because it's going to be very hard for me to do a lot of work from there. I had quit my corporate job and was doing freelance. I started my own consulting firm and was doing freelance marketing consulting for a range of different companies from the United States. And so I was able, and I have been doing a little bit of that still from here, but the hours I have to say are challenging with the United States. So we actually came here on a 1-year visitor visa.
That's what I came on originally.
Oh,
too.
That's right. Okay.
Because,
which is, I think like,
you technically can't work. You have to have your own health insurance.
Yeah. But you can work, but you just can't work for a French company.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like I can still do client work for the United States or any other country. And so can my husband. We just cannot like legally work at a French company or with, a French like consulting client, et cetera. So we are realizing like the fact that we are going to stay, like the visitor visa doesn't really work because we would like to be able to work in France. Yeah. And so now we're applying for what's called a talent visa. There's multiple different types of visa we can go into in a lot more detail at some point. But basically it's similar to like an entrepreneurial visa. Like you're starting your own company within France and you kind of write a business plan and you get letters of recommendation. And then that actually buys you 4 years if you get that through and you're able, I know, fingers crossed, and you're able to work legally in France. insurance. And the health insurance is obviously all included. So
and then you start paying French taxes
and then all the fun
stuff.
begins.
Yeah.
So that's what I am currently working on. So fingers
For
crossed,
year
we'll keep you
two.
posted
Okay.
for year 2.
We're sending you good vibes.
Thank
Kim.
you.
Okay, our next question is making friends in France. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, can you start?
Okay, so when I arrived, I kind of I didn't obviously know anyone besides my husband. And so but I also keep in mind, I spoke zero French. So I met like his group of friends and they were all so nice and lovely and welcoming to me. But at the end of the day, those first few years, it was really hard. It was hard for me socially because I would be hanging out, but I was so quiet and everyone was always like, "Oh, Isabel's so shy."
No.
And I'm like, I'm just sitting there.
You're not really
I don't
shy.
understand what's happening. It was tough, but it was
Yeah.
such a juxtaposition from, I lived in New York for 8 years with
Yeah,
all my friends from
totally.
college and we were always like, so like blah, 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 blah. Like never,
Social.
And then like my social life felt very social.
Yeah.
And then I came and while we were doing a lot of things, I couldn't contribute. And so
Yeah,
it was almost like
hard.
being like, honestly, once I had a 2-year-old and I saw how frustrated she always was, I was like, I kind of get this because I felt like kind of like a baby in adult society. And so that was tough. But I kind of realized that I needed to I know some people do the opposite where they just like double down and they're like, okay, that's it. Like I'm going to like learn French and make this work.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I felt like a little too overwhelmed. And so I started looking for events for like expats or other
Smart.
people that had just moved to France. And I ended up just like, I would like go to an event once a week by myself.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
honestly, like it's sort of like dating.
Yeah.
You kind of meet a lot of people and whatever,
See
but
who
then
you
like
click
you
with.
sort of find some people that you like. And then
Totally.
from those people, you might meet some other people.
That's awesome.
And then I ended up meeting my really good friend in Paris. Once I had my daughter, I was in an English speaking moms in Paris Facebook group. And she ended up buying like a baby toy from me. And when we met, we just like instantly kind of hit it off and we got coffee and it was great because she lived right around the corner from me. So that was
that's
really
awesome.
nice. And it also, I think as you get older and you have kids, you don't need a ton of friends.
No.
Because you don't have a lot of time.
Right.
And like you're exhausted. Like,
right. I agree.
you don't have the same, I think it's easy to compare like your social life in your 20s to then when you have kids and everyone's so busy. And so for me,
sure.
like just having like even one good friend, like in Paris, like having my friend Lauren, just having one good friend around the corner that I could call and be like, I'm so like, the kids are crazy. Like, do you want to go to the park or do you want to get a coffee? Just last minute was such a nice thing to have. So if you've just moved abroad and you're feeling a little lost, like you don't need to find, you'll
you don't
maybe
need,
have
like,
to go
a
on
million
like
friends.
50 friend
No.
dates, but you will find
For sure.
your friends and there's good people everywhere. And I do think it's nice to have other people who speak your native language
For sure.
when you move, just because, like it's hard. Like it can be really hard when you first move and it's nice to have someone else who's sort of moved at the same time of you. I think that's also key.
Yes.
Because I think it can be a little harder because when you just move to a new country, you're sort of a needy friend in the sense that you're just
help
figuring.
me with this, help me with
You're
this.
just
Yes,
figuring
for sure.
everything out. Whereas like, so then if there's two of you together, it's kind of like you're all going through the same thing at the same time. And it's just like an easy way to bond. And I don't know, I thought that was like
that's
always
awesome.
really nice to have. And then when we moved here, like I met Kim through our daughter's class.
Yeah.
And then I've met a few other friends. I had one of my friends from Paris had moved here the year before. So I met her. I was able to be friends with her. And then I've made a few other friends just kind of randomly.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your experience with making friends?
Yeah. I mean, I was also worried about this. It sounded like I was worried about quite a few things when we were moving here, but, we had like, I think I was talking about this at one point, but a pretty broad network, but I wouldn't say like super deep. Like I obviously like made good friends in California, but it took a lot of time, like, at least I would say 3 years for me to really like find a close network. And also like, I think couple friends are also important, like ones where you can have a date night and like, or have the family over and like both people got along really well. And so I would say we had that when we left California. And I was worried about that here, but I've actually we've met really amazing people here. And I would say there's kind of been like 2 ways we've met people. One has obviously been the school is really great about just, you meet people through your kids' classes. But I would say the other thing, just from taking French lessons in a multitude of different ways, like Allianz through, I did tutoring. I was with I would go on these, when I first joined, they would be like a tour of like a certain area and it was in French, but there was quite a few like English speakers. And I actually met like this fun friend from my same hometown who had been living here for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think I would say like you kind of have to just get out there and like be
put
open
yourself out there
and put
and
yourself
look for
out there.
things.
And I think the difference is like, I don't know if you found this too, Isabel, but like in the United States, sometimes like you meet someone and you're like, oh yeah, sure. Let's get a coffee or let's get a glass of wine sometime. And like, nobody really does any follow through. Like here, like people actually follow through because I think people are much more open to meeting people. And like, I've just found, that like anyone I had given my number to, like actually ends up texting and reaching out and being like,
awesome.
it's actually been really great. And we've also found like just some really great couple friends that we've, had
and
a good
I feel like you do
with.
a lot of things too. Like you do tennis. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I feel like you're super active. And I think for anyone else, like moving abroad, like the more things you do, the more touch points you have with other people. So the higher the chances of finding someone you like.
Yeah. And it might not be, I think it's important to say like, the friends you had in the US, like who you're just immediately like, oh, I could see myself being friends with the person. Like, I think it's different here. Like you have to take a much more open-minded approach. Like I met a woman at, I was going to this workout class every week and she actually was helping me with my French and she was literally like 15 years older than me, but I really liked her and we ended up getting coffee and like kind of stay in touch, like on text. And if I had met her in the United States, like I would have been like, oh, I don't know, her kids are like practically in college. Like what are we going to relate on? But I think you just have to sort of be open-minded that, friends can be friends no matter like who they are, what life stage they're at, where they came from. Like, and she was from Ireland, like, so I think it just keeping an open mind about where people are from is also important and who they are.
I think that's great advice. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Overcoming the fear of speaking French. I don't know if I've ever, honestly, like, I don't know if I have
I definitely have not
overcome it. I don't know how you say that. Yeah, it's really, I think it's almost easier the less you know. Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
Okay. So like, when you first start learning French.
Yes.
I almost, at least for me, I felt like I was more inclined to just like think I knew it. Like I had more confidence in my actual abilities and it was easier for me to just be like, blah, 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 and probably say the whole thing wrong. But then once I started to like really learn how much I had to learn and all the different tenses, and it was like my brain would kind of like bug over like when I would go to say something, I would kind of freeze to be like, okay, I have to translate it in my head. And then you miss the moment. Yes. And I feel like it was much harder for me to speak French like a year after I got here than at the beginning.
Interesting. Okay.
And I don't know. Still, you also just you just have to force yourself. The thing that still, I always hesitate to pick up the phone. And like I can pick up the phone and do whatever and understand everything. It used to be a lot harder because it's crazy how much you rely on the way someone's mouth moves.
Oh, for sure.
When you're listening to them. So when you can't see that, phone calls can be very hard. And there's body language that comes into play. So that can be hard. I still have to really force myself on that. And I don't know, a glass of wine helps in social situations too.
I think it's funny. Isabel and I both don't love having to make phone calls in French. And I would say the French are much more phone people than like the United States. Like I think in the United States,
if you send an email here, like you're not going to get a response. An answer.
And if you want to go like there's a festival next weekend that Isabel and I were talking about going to. And so I was like, oh good, there's an email contact. So I send an email.
Is this the beer festival?
Yes, the beer festival.
I need to book the babysitter. Did you book a babysitter?
Well, let's talk about it because now they sent back a phone number and I can't get myself to call.
Okay. We'll handle it. Okay. We'll discuss this after the podcast.
We'll discuss after, but basically, everything is like on the phone to like reserve a restaurant or like book festival tables or anything. I mean, a festival ticket, anything like that is just, you kind of have to be able to speak French on the phone. And I still it's a dreaded moment for me because it's usually like a tough conversation.
You know what it is? It's no one wants to feel like they're making a fool of themselves. And when you're learning a new language, like I know you shouldn't say it, like you shouldn't think of it like that because
I
it's
know.
such like a courageous thing. And like, it takes like bravery and curiosity and
Yeah.
stuff to learn a new language, especially as an adult.
For sure.
Because I feel like as a kid, like you don't think about anything, you don't
No.
care, like whatever. But as an adult, like, you really kind of put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And you just have to like actively kind of gaslight yourself into not caring. Like you just have to like keep doing it and then be like, I don't care. I love speaking French. Like you just have to
Totally.
keep doing it. It's like practice. You just have to keep putting yourself in uncomfortable
Yeah.
situations and then it gets like slightly less comfortable. But again, like I always have these moments where I'm like, I'll
know.
get back to my car and I'll be like,
Me too. I
that's
said that
what they
wrong.
meant.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
I responded with something totally different and thought I was being funny. Like, it's just like, you just have these little like cringe moments
for sure.
all the time.
Well, I also think like, okay, if you learn a language in the United States, like maybe you're using it every now and then, right? Like maybe you're like doing things that you're purposely like using that language that you're learning. Here, like it is full immersion all the time. Like
Yeah.
you can't walk out of your house without speaking French, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing. Like, so I think you're naturally forced to, because if you want to go anywhere or do anything or communicate with anyone outside of like a small network of native English speakers, because I will say, like, I don't think a lot of people speak English here. I think it's very like few and far between. I mean, once
I think
in a
it
while,
depends. Like some of the more like hospitality stuff, yes,
Yeah.
because it is a big tourist region. But I would
That's
say, yeah,
true.
like
And-
like regular people, like like they're
Yeah.
just regular French people. They're not speaking
No.
English in their day to day life,
No.
and like why would they? You know?
It's actually funny. I was talking to this woman in English, this woman who worked at a store, and she said they bring in a whole new group of people to
No
work at
way,
the
in the
stores
summer?
starting in May 1st. So that's why we're hearing like you and I today.
I was honestly so surprised. We
shocked
went
how
shopping before we had lunch, and then we did a little shopping.
It's our
filming
day
this.
off.
And the girl at the store was so nice,
Yes,
and her English was
amazing.
so good. And I was like really surprised because I usually speak French when I go into stores.
too.
And but yeah, maybe that's
So they
what it
said
is.
because
Okay.
there's just so many people, tourists from all over. So that whole new group.
makes sense. Okay. House hunting in France.
All right, you start with that. You've been on.
This is really hard.
serious
I
house
think
hunt.
it's really hard to find
Yeah,
housing in France.
I agree.
Honestly, unless you have like a very, very high budget.
But even then, I don't think you're going to get like everything that you've imagined.
I mean, I think there's just like different standards in the houses
Right,
here,
agreed.
but I think that, I mean, back to when we bought our apartment in Paris,
Yeah.
we hired like a house hunter. So it's like the real estate stuff kind of works totally different here. There isn't like one system where every single listing, like the MLS,
Right.
that doesn't exist. So there's just different agencies and they all have different stuff. So you can hire like an apartment hunter who
Yep.
then their job is to like kind of search through all of them and find ones for you. And we worked with this woman for several months
Okay.
trying to find something, and we didn't end up finding anything. Like, I don't know. She would
This was
always
in
go,
Paris?
this was in Paris.
Okay.
She would go like way above our budget or just like, like something that
Yeah.
just like did not work for us.
Yeah.
And we finally, there's sort of the season, it starts in March and it kind of ends
Yep.
before the summer. I think it's kind of the same
It's
in the
the
US.
same, I think, in the US.
Because people want to move before
Yep.
the school year. And we kind of gave up. And as we just like decided we would just stay where we were.
Okay.
I saw an ad in one of my Facebook groups for a American woman with a French husband selling their apartment. And I sent her a message, and that's the apartment that we ended up
So cool.
buying. To find our house here, it was my friend Emma, who our kids were in the same crèche in Paris. And it was like she saw it on her school message board, the house that we live in now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So my
Okay.
takeaway is it is
Helpful to have
extremely word of mouth. Like there
Yeah.
not like one listing place. I
Yeah.
also find that the agents are a little bit flaky.
for sure.
So you can't really just like
No.
call one agent. At
No.
least maybe they exist, but I haven't found like one agent who's willing to work just with you to help you
I
find
agree.
something. You kind of like have to just be out there looking for yourself, and it's a very tight market.
Yep.
Prices are really high, and it's really hard. We're like still looking, but I think I actually got a lead on Instagram for a house, and I'm hoping that we'll end up
Yeah.
moving into that one, but we don't really
Fingers
know.
crossed for
We'll
you.
see what
for
happens.
Sure. It seems like a great house.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we'll see.
Okay. Mine is also, so at least
Don't
you
get
were
discouraged. Keep
Yeah.
trying and ask my biggest piece of advice is if you're looking for a house, tell every single person
Yes.
you know that you're looking for a house.
And like put it everywhere.
Put
Like
it everywhere. Put it online. Put it
Totally.
in emails. Like
Yeah.
anything. Like ask anyone you can if they know of anyone renting a house.
Yes. And at least you have been in France while you're looking for a house. Like
Yeah.
I
So
have the
what was
opposite
it like looking?
experience.
Because it's true. When I moved here, like I moved into my husband's he had a rental apartment. I moved in there with him.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you guys to try to find something from the U.S.?
Well, so we didn't
I can't even imagine how hard that must have been.
we didn't even know what city in France we wanted to live in. And so basically I applied to 5 different international schools in 5 different cities throughout France. And then my husband and I left our kids with my parents and decided we really needed to come here and like go to these cities, see the schools, get a feel for them. We had never been to basically any of these cities except Paris. And so basically like end of March, mid to end of March, my husband and I did like a whirlwind tour of France and saw all the cities and decided this was actually the last city that we visited and decided like Aix-en-Provence was kind of perfect. So then we got back and we're like, okay, we kind of quickly need to figure out the housing situation. We knew nothing about the area. We knew nothing about like basically anything. So we just started like looking at listings like online and like through a big company like Sotheby's, like who we knew from the US. And I think we just got like super lucky. There happened to be the family that was in the house that we live in right now that was moving to Miami. And so it was almost like a house swap. So they moved to the United States and we moved into their house.
Okay.
But similar situation. We didn't know if we got the house because we had to work through an agent who just never responded. And it caused like, I would say major tension between my husband and I because
It's stressful.
it was like, do we have a house? Do we not? Should we, like, we've never seen this house. We basically just were renting it on pictures and hoping it was okay. But it was really stressful because we didn't end up knowing that we were going to have this house until I would say it was like the end of May. So it's been like a 2-month process and we were moving the end of July. So basically we were moving out of our house in California and not knowing
where you were going.
If we were even going to have a house here. And so I found that to be really stressful.
Yeah.
But you know, I do think things work out and I do think people like, if you, like you said, Isabel, like if you put a lot of feelers out there and you just like kind of start really like telling people like, hey, I'm interested, like this is what I need. And also like be okay with not everything being perfect. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
You get what you take what you can get.
We moved here in August. We didn't have air conditioning. I didn't even know that would have been a problem. It is hot.
It's very hot here.
And yeah. And I think it's
like over 100.
It's over 100 in the summer in
Yeah.
August. And there's no air conditioning and you can't really open the windows because of the mosquitoes. So anyways, you just kind of deal with things and know that it's a short season and you got used to it. And, but there's also like really awesome things about like houses that you wouldn't get in the US. Like this has so much,
I think our house is amazing. So much charm
and like, I love the like sort of like the French touches everywhere. And it's anyway, so I think you just have to sort of be okay with, different standard of living, but,
you have to be like the combo of super chill and laid back while also being like kind of aggressive in searching because, like you have to be on the apps. You have to be looking at things. You have to be ready to go see stuff. But at the same time being like, we'll find something because it could drive you crazy.
And in fact, a lot of Isabel and our friends like are in a situation where this is very common in the south of France. We should talk about it.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Where a lot of people will give leases for, what would you say, like 10 months, 9 to 10 months?
Yeah, they do like September to June 1st or even like through the end of June. It's like September to June 31st because then they want the houses empty for July, August so they can way bump up the price for the summer holidays. Because I think what I've taken away from it is I think a lot of people are paying their whole mortgage for the year with the summer rent. And then they just put someone in for like the winter month, like down season.
Because we should say like what basically the south of France is like a ton of people from the north of France, like from everywhere.
Yeah, from everywhere. Like from the US, from all the rest of France, from Germany, from everywhere. England, the UK.
Totally. And so we, since we're so close to the beach too, like we end up, Aix-en-Provence ends up being a very popular spot. So we have,
but luckily both of us were in 1 year leases.
Thankfully.
So that's like another thing to add into it. Okay. So hardest adjustment to living in France? I can go first on
Yes,
this.
please.
I think for me, it was really the language.
Yeah.
That was just so hard. I kind of underestimated how hard it would be to move somewhere without knowing the language.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, luckily we speak English because it's true. Like the
Yeah.
language after, like most, if there was going to be a language that French people knew, it's most likely English. I can't
mean, it's
imagine
international
how
language. So
I can't imagine
yeah.
how hard it must be to move.
I know,
Like,
I was
and you
thinking
don't, if
that
you
too.
don't have English,
I
because then
know.
you're like, maybe it's better in the long run because you just like
you
have
learn
no
another
choice to
language.
like
Yeah.
learn French right away. But that was hard.
Yeah.
And then the other adjustment for me was when I was a registered dietitian in the US
Right.
and my degree wasn't accepted here. So I was kind of like, had no idea what to do for work. And so
Yeah.
that was a big adjustment too, because I was like, I just was so lost. I didn't see any kind of clear answer. But then, you know, I got pregnant. I wasn't
Yeah.
really looking. And then it kind of has fallen into place
Yeah.
for me over the past few years, which is good. But that was like hard to not know it because I think I'm a planner in a sense where I
Yeah.
like to like know where
I'm a planner
I'm
too.
going. And
Yeah.
that was definitely like a point in my life where I couldn't see because at first I was like, my husband was like, well, you could do nutrition counseling from here. And I remember at one point I got like a headset to like be able to take calls. And then I was like, I couldn't make it make sense for me
Yeah.
because I was like, what am I going to be doing at 6 p.m. New
totally.
York time,
I
which is
know.
midnight my time?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to see clients. And, you know, when you're a dietitian, you want your clients to move on. You don't want
course,
to
yeah.
keep them for years. So like
Right.
you want to do like, I don't know, 2 months and get more. And I'm like, I just don't know if there's
Yeah.
a payoff of constantly searching for clients and then
For sure.
being up in the middle of the night. And I
It's a
couldn't
lot.
figure it out. So that was an adjustment too, because I just kind of saw this like roadblock.
Yeah.
And I didn't see the path of like, oh, if I do this, I could get there. But then
Right.
it kind of, you know, life keeps moving on and then, you know, you figure it out eventually. But
Yeah.
I would say that was
That
hard.
was harder.
What-
Yeah. I agree
You're
with you on the
still-
language.
You're so new.
But the language is, I would say, the hardest adjustment
Yeah.
for me. Like sometimes, especially if you're like tired or something, you just
yeah, when
like
you're tired, it can be
want to
really
be able
hard.
to speak English. Sometimes I know that sounds bad, but because it's an extra effort still for me to.
Me too, though. Like, you know, when
Yeah.
you're sick and you go to the doctor and then it's
Yes,
just
and
like
you
the,
just want to
it's
like you have to translate. So
yeah.
I think that is something that, but it does get easier. Like I have to
Totally.
say, like that might have been. It was way worse like when we first moved here, and now I'm sort of just used to it. But I would say actually for me, and for those of you thinking of moving abroad, like know that, I mean, and this again could just be my situation, but the hardest part is actually just getting yourself to do it, like, and actually take all the
Yeah.
steps to do it, because it's, especially when you have little kids and you're leaving your family and your friends and your school network and everything you've kind of built, I would say, behind, like the hardest adjustment was actually just deciding and making the move to get here. So, and once we got here, it was like, for a while, like it felt like a mini vacation. Like I was like, this is so nice. And then of course there's things along the way that settle in its life, and, you know, you hit some roadblocks, but, overall, like I would say now it
Now that you're
feels
here, it's
a little
easier.
bit more like
Yeah.
smooth sailing than it was getting ourselves to this point. But also the work, I would say, like I've had to
Yeah.
turn down work in like California because of the hours with little
Yeah.
kids. It's very, very hard.
Yeah, it's tough. Okay. We have one question left.
Okay.
Compare French and American clothing styles.
Oh,
This is kind of a big topic.
I know. I feel like we could do a whole episode on this.
I feel like
Maybe
we
we'll
could
just
too. But
touch on
if we
it.
just like touch on it briefly, I think like the one that always comes to everyone's mind is like the athletic wear. Like I think that
Yeah.
in general, most Americans dress a lot more casually than
Yeah.
people in France dress.
I agree.
I really think that, I mean, depending on where you are, but people tend to like put on nice shoes, like put on a
sure.
real outfit. I almost never see like a
would never
French
see
mom
someone
at
in-
school
No.
in sweatpants dropping
Me
their kids
either.
off for school.
No.
Even men, like there's like, I know when I go back to the US, and when I go back, I usually go to New Hampshire where my mom is.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little different there. I don't know how it is in California. I've actually never been to California,
Oh, wait, we need to get you there. It's awesome.
but it's a lot of like athletic wear, like
Yes, for sure. Same
like
in
Nike
California.
shorts, like
Probably
probably kind of
even
those like
more.
athletic, like kind of just men's workout
Yes.
clothes, sneakers,
Yes.
Sweatshirts,
Yeah.
just kind of more like athletic
Ella,
wear.
Lululemon all the time.
Yeah. And yeah, even like when people go to workout clothes here, like all the women in the classes I've done come in their regular
Yeah,
clothes
same.
and then they're in the locker room changing into their gym clothes.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they change back into their
like shower and
street
change
clothes,
back. Yeah.
to leave. Whereas I don't know. It's always been my culture. Like if you're going to the gym, you put on your gym clothes,
Right,
you go to
totally.
the gym, you come home, you shower, whatever.
Right.
Or like, you know, if
Or
you're going
you,
to
I
work,
mean,
you
I would
shower
like
there
run
and-
errands after that and be like, oh, great. I like got,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's an efficiency thing in the US. Like, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's like
maybe
you're
you're
on
right.
this
It's
like speed, like, okay, if I can like do my workout class, go to the grocery store and this all before this time. And then, you know, like, I think it's more about the efficiency of not taking the extra time to like have to get ready and change
Yeah.
and do your makeup again and whatever. Like,
I
that's why
also
I think
think
part of it
that-
is.
I think you can be a little bit judged here
Yeah,
if you're
I
not
agree.
well dressed.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
like
for
sometimes,
sure,
like I've
for
noticed
sure.
a difference between like, because, you know, sometimes if we're out like doing an activity
Yeah.
on a Saturday and we roll into a restaurant,
Yeah.
like they're not always super friendly.
No.
If they, because maybe they're like, oh, these are just American tourists
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's what it is. But I've noticed a big difference. Like if I like have nice shoes on
Oh,
and have
for
my
sure.
bag and like look like
Yes.
put together, people treat me with so much more respect.
It's the same
than,
for me. Yeah.
If I'm just like drop my daughter off at school and I'm in like
Yeah.
a skim sweatsuit,
Your new favorite.
my obsession, they like they just don't give you the same level of
No.
respect, which is sort of weird because in the US, like
They don't care.
in my opinion, people kind of treat you with respect the same.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
it's not
I
so
agree.
looks based, and I do
No.
feel like here can be very
I-
judgmental.
Yes. And I almost think it's like more coming from the women, like in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Or do you think
I
it's
don't
both?
know because
Well, I guess
usually at
even,
a
like,
restaurant it'll be like
restaurant's
the
a
man and like
maitre d'. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think it is both. Like and
I think they
it's-
place a little bit more value on like how things
Yeah.
look, and they
mean,
judge you a little bit.
I think you're absolutely right. Like I've noticed a big difference. Like I have done the like in France, like run around doing errands, and like I have waited in line, like even at the market, because they don't even want to like look at you after a run. And I'm like, it's right. I just want to stop quick and
Yeah.
get this. And you know,
It's actually one of the things I don't like about France. Like, I just want to be accepted, whatever I
Yeah.
choose to wear or do. You also see less difference, at least in a town like X, which is scales a little on the older side, for
think?
sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Really?
Oh my gosh, there's so many older people
Wait,
that
I
live
see
here.
like so many young families all the time.
Like, there's definitely students, but I think a lot, like, it's kind of more of a retirement area.
wow. Okay, I had no idea.
Really?
No, I feel like it's a pretty big university town. But
Well,
I mean,
sorry, yes, it's a university
Okay.
town plus like older. Like, I
Okay.
don't think there's as many young families as there are in like Paris or Lyon.
oh, interesting. Okay, I
Just
mean, I
because,
don't
like,
really
the jobs
know.
aren't like also the more
Yeah,
like the big
that's
jobs are
true. Okay.
there. But I do like when you go to Pierre Ricard, when you go to the market there, it's really scales much older.
Okay, see, I'm always an X, and
Okay,
I
so
see
maybe
a
you
lot
see,
of
like,
younger
young,
people.
yeah.
I see families a
Yeah.
lot. Like I see like I don't know. I don't see as many older people.
So maybe
but
like my point being like maybe it's like an older
it could be.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do feel like in the US you see a lot more different stuff. Like you see people
Yeah,
with pink
yeah.
hair.
True,
You
true.
see,
Yeah,
like,
you don't-
I'm also thinking about New York City. Like
I
you
know,
you just
it's
it's
very-
such a hodgepodge
Yeah,
and
for sure.
here you don't see as much. So if you stand out, like if you don't
Yeah.
fit the
The mold, a little
like,
bit. I know.
you can get an eye. And
Oh, for
I don't
sure.
know. I don't like that. Like I just
know.
want to like do whatever I want.
I would, yeah, I definitely think it's a lot less diverse than
Yes.
every other city I've lived in.
For sure.
In the
Yes,
US.
that's true.
And so I think you have to sort of be aware of that if
It's
you're.
also like why I really like Marseille because it's just a
yeah,
little,
it's like
so much
for
cooler.
sure.
Just
It
like
is a lot like edgier,
know, do
cooler,
whatever,
like,
like-
be whoever you want. There's
Yeah.
a lot. There's people from like really all over. I think here tends to be more like
Yeah.
native French people, which is each to their own. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, my observation of the like French style is like it just looks like effortlessly chic, and I have no idea why. Like sometimes I'm like, I know she probably spent a lot of time getting ready, but she looks just like pulled together and cool, and in like a sort of just like an effortless way. I mean, it could
I
be
agree
like,
with you. I also think it has to do with like I think we talked about this on one of the
Yeah.
episodes where it's just like you buy like a few nice things.
Yeah, for sure.
And definitely like logos,
Yeah.
like plaster
Yeah. Yeah,
labels.
no.
Like French people are much more
No, for
discreet than
sure.
Americans in
Yeah.
that sense. And like you really don't see a lot of people walking around like
Logoed
decked
out.
and and stuff.
No.
And so I personally have always thought that just does look more
Yeah.
elegant.
Yeah.
And I think like when you dress more modestly in that sense, like you're going to kind of look a little more elevated than if you're like,
No, I agree.
you know.
But it's interesting. It's not like people are in like heels or anything. It's like it's just like kind of
No.
like cool sneakers, but like in like a sort of like effortlessly chic way. And then I feel like, you know, maybe it's the skinny cigarettes. Sorry, we're not obviously promoting smoking, but you do see, I would say, a fair amount of women with like the long skinny cigarettes.
When I came up the elevator today from the parking lot, the woman in the elevator, an older woman with her dog, was smoking in the elevator. And I was like,
Oh my
I stepped in and I was
gosh,
like,
I've never seen
there
that.
was smoke everywhere. And I was like, what? I thought something was wrong with the elevator. And then I saw her like popping her.
No.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Oh, I
in all
haven't seen
fairness.
anyone smoke in the elevator.
I mean,
But
that's just like appalling, right?
that's appalling. That's not okay if you're sharing an elevator. No, I mean, at least like it's illegal to smoke inside here.
Is it?
Yeah, it is now.
Okay.
It's been, I think, for a long time. So you can smoke
But
outside.
you can like be eating lunch. This is
for
smoking isn't the
sure.
topic for another day, but you can be
Okay.
eating lunch outside at a restaurant and the person next to you is just like puffing smoke over onto you.
1,000%. I hate it.
this.
Me too. I also
It's
hate.
I just think it's so rude and inconsiderate.
because
it's like,
we're-
I
the
don't want
tables are
your,
close.
I don't
It's
want your
not-
smoky.
no.
Like I have my daughter here. I don't want your smoky
No,
smoke in
same.
my
and
my
it's
mouth
also
on
like
anything.
if you're gonna sit that close to someone, and it's also like sometimes they're kind of enclosed. Like now it's basically inside, and we're inhaling like your secondhand
Totally.
smoke. So even though it like sometimes I'm like she like looks cool with it, I really hate smoking.
Okay, well,
All
I
right.
think we can wrap this up. If you guys liked the episode, remember to follow us on Spotify and you can rate and leave us a little review. That would be super helpful. And follow us on Instagram. We
Yay.
are posting some behind the scenes stuff on there.
Ooh.
And yeah.
All right.
Anything else to add?
No, I think we'll look
Okay.
forward to the next one. Cuckoo.
Okay, cuckoo.
Cheers, bye.